Have you ever thought about how your spouse's life, or maybe even your life, would change in retirement if you lost that person? In this video, I want to talk about these challenges, both emotionally and financially. That person may not always be there, and it changes the dynamics for you. So let's jump into it. So the first thing that might change for you if you lost your spouse or loved one would be CPP. So if you lose your spouse, you also lose their CPP. Now again, there is a CPP survivor benefit that you would collect, but typically that's a smaller amount, and I won't go through that calculation here. We have a video on that, we'll link that below. But you want to understand, if your spouse passed away, how much of their CPP would I collect, and what's that total amount? As you walk through this process with your financial planner and look at all the numbers, this is something you need to consider. Like, if I lost their CPP, which can be a substantial amount, what would happen to my overall income? Do I need more? Do I have enough? This is something you need to consider. The second thing is the old age security, the OAS. Now, if your spouse or common law partner is collecting OAS and they pass away, you lose all of that. So there's no OAS survivor benefit. So that's a big loss. For a lot of you, you're collecting $500, $600, $700 every single month of old age security. That's gone. There's no survivor benefit. So between your CPP and your old age security, you might have about $1,500 coming in potentially, and that may be cut down to just a few $100s. So that's a big substantial decrease in income due to the loss of both the majority of CPP and old age security. Now, if you lost your spouse, the cost of living would typically go down. It's not half, as we know, it's probably about 70 or 80%. And for any of you that have done traveling as a single person, know that traveling single is not half the price as traveling with two people. You can go as a couple, go on a trip, it's $5,000, but for an individual, it's $4,000. And so it's not always equal. So you have to remember, if you lose a spouse, that the cost of living isn't going to be half. Typically 70 to 80% is a good measure to use. So as you build out your retirement plan, if you're planning on, hey, what happens if I lose my spouse? I need about 70 to 80% of my income. Is that going to be there? Even though your cost of living may go down, there's still the majority of that need will be there. Now, for a select few of you, your cost of living might actually go up if you lose your spouse because you might be dependent on them. And with them not being there any longer, you may need to get care in your house. There's a large cost of that. So be aware of your situation. Now, I know this might be years down the road and it's hard to plan for that. But at the end of the day, you want to run through a few scenarios with your financial planner to make sure that those concerns are answered. Now, I always say when we have a client come in, I always say, look, our goal is to A, build the best retirement plan for you, but B, any of those concerns in the back of your head, we want to make sure we're answering those for you so that you can sleep at night, that you have those answered, mapped out for you, so that you have a clear understanding about what the future could hold. We don't know what the future is going to hold, but let's run a few of those scenarios that keep you up at night so that we can put those on the back burner. One of the biggest differences you'll face if you lose your spouse or partner in retirement is that you can't income split. A couple, you can split your income. There's a lot more ability to lower your tax rates, to pay CRA less money in taxes. But the reality is, as a single person, you can't income split. So if you have a high income earner and a low income earner in retirement, you can split it depending on type of income and age. But for most of you, 65 plus, you can split that income, lower your overall tax bill. But as an individual, if you're that high income earner, there's no one to split it with. You're going to pay a much higher personal tax rate. You can't offload some of that tax to someone else to reduce your average tax rate. So that's a big challenge a lot of people face. And we have a lot of clients that we've started working with over the last few years that are widowed, that had this plan to split income, and they structured everything in a way thinking that they'd be with their partner for life. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And I hear these stories day in, day out. I would say once a week I talk to a widow that is in their early 60s, mid 60s, prepping for retirement, and they lost their loved one. And a lot of their plan is out the door, but they have to regroup and replan going forward. But this tax situation is a complicated one, and it's a frustrating one, to be honest with you. If you plan everything, income splitting, all that, and you lose that person, you got to make those adjustments on the fly. And it's very challenging, but it can be done. One of the emotional things that you might bump up against is that the person, the spouse that you lost may be or may have been the financial leader in your house. And again, when I work with couples, I try and bring both in, and we try and make sure that both husband and wife or both partners understand the financial implications and aspect of their retirement and help to educate and really nurture that knowledge. But at the end of the day, there's typically one person in the house that runs the financial plan, that runs the finances, that has a really good grasp on it. So if that's the person that passes away, it leaves the other person in a tough spot. And so I encourage you to educate yourself. If you're watching this video, you're probably that person in your household. So if you have a partner, spouse, whoever it is, you're probably the one if you're watching this video, because trust me, a lot of people don't watch financial planning videos if you're not really interested in it. So bring your partner, bring your spouse alongside you as you watch these videos, as you educate yourself, as you do research. It's really important to make sure that they level up. And I would say about a third of people that hire our firm to put their retirement plan together, it's really for that spouse, the person that doesn't have a lot of knowledge. Right? The person that contacts us is typically the financial person. They say, you know what, Adam, I have a good handle on this. I have a pretty good plan, I think. We need some fine tuning, but I really want your team to do the plan and go through it because my partner has no clue and I want to bring them alongside in this journey. And that's really important. So as you start to plan for retirement and put financial stuff together, it's really important to make sure to include both people because, again, if you're the financial leader in the house, and you pass away, it leaves your partner or spouse in a very challenging position. And I've said it before, a few times a year, I bring my wife Steph together and we go through kind of our financial plan. Where are things at? Where are all the assets, liabilities, financial future stuff? We have a lot of moving pieces with the company, personal, all of that. So I need to make sure she's on board. I need to make sure she knows where our will is, power of attorneys, life insurance policies. All this stuff is really important that she knows the details and where to locate them. So it's not just an executor thing, it's a spousal and partner thing that you need to make sure you take care of as you go through this journey. Another financial piece to consider would be if your spouse or partner has a company pension. Because when they started their pension, they took a survivor benefit, or hopefully they took a survivor benefit. But it may not be 100%. It might be 75 or 60, 66. Every pension's a little bit different. So make sure you understand how much pension benefit, survivor benefit, did they take when they signed up for their pension? Because if they didn't take 100%, that means that the pension amount that your household currently collects is going to be reduced if they pass away. Now, the decision on what survivor benefit to take on a pension plan is a really important piece of your overall retirement planning. And so if you're someone that's coming up against, hey, I need to make this decision at some time in the next few years, make sure you have a really good plan put together. And you want to kind of create it so it's, okay, if I take 100%, what happens? If I take 75% and I pass away, does my partner have enough money going forward? These are the challenges that they may face. So you want to run these through your retirement plan, which will help you make that decision around what is the best option when taking my pension. Is it 100% survivor benefit, 75? Is it a 5-year guarantee, 10, 15? There's many options, and most pension statements I see today, so pension option statement, you're going to have between 12 and 25 options. Now, typically there's 2 or 3 that make the most sense, and I can pick those out right away. But for most of you looking at that, if you have 20 options, where do you start? Well, the best place to start is talk to your financial planner. If you don't have one, reach out to our office. We'd be happy to help you. But again, the decision on what pension piece to take has to incorporate into all of your other assets and retirement planning to make sure that cash flow will always be there and always be enough for the rest of your life or your partner's life. Another piece that's both emotional and financial is your house may be a little bit too big now. If you lost your partner, you may not need all that space anymore. So you may have to sell the family home, downsize. Emotionally, you may not want to stay in that home. So there's a big financial transaction in retirement, which I typically say try to avoid as best you can unless you're downsizing later in life. But this may be coming at you instantly, unseen, and it's a big financial event. It's a big emotional transition for you. Obviously, if you lose your spouse or partner, the emotional piece is going to be there for many years. It may never go away. But as things start to settle down a little bit, you need to deal with this financial piece of it. And for a lot of you, it's going to be your house, your real estate. It's too big, you want to move on, you might want to move somewhere different, closer to kids, family, whatever it is. Maybe move abroad, right? Everyone's got a different need and want. But dealing with that house for a lot of you that lose your spouse or partner is something that I see quite often where, look, I don't want to stay here anymore. The house is too big. There's too many memories here, whatever it is. There's many reasons on why you're going to have that financial event and liquidate the house and get into something different. So something to consider as you go forward is like, are we in the right house? And again, you don't want to plan for losing your spouse. They're going to pass away someday, or you will first. But what does this transition look like? Something to think about and talk about with your partner for the just in case. The final thing I want to touch on here, and this just came up the other day talking to someone, their spouse had Alzheimer's in their mid-50s, quite early, and it changed the dynamic and the trajectory of where they were going. So diagnosed, they went on a lot of travel, they spent a lot of time in trying, get their bucket list gone. But I would say the last 2, 3, 4 years, she's in a home, he's kind of doing life, doing retirement, trying to enjoy the go-go phase, but it's really tough, obviously, because she's still here, she's in a home. It's not what they planned. And again, these things happen, and I hear these stories all the time. So one of the things that people that lose their spouse or common law partner go through these health challenges for many years is you lose a lot of that go-go phase. And this is why I always say, you don't want to wait to retirement to enjoy your go-go phase of retirement. There's a pre-go-go phase, and it's all of your life leading up to retirement. And this is where there's a fine balance between making sure that you save enough for retirement so that you can do the things you want and put food on the table and all of that fun stuff. But there's the other piece of it of make sure you enjoy life leading up to retirement. You never know how long you have here on earth. You never know how long your partner is going to be here. So you want to enjoy some of that time now. So make sure as you lead up to retirement, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe in your 60s, as you lead up to retirement, it doesn't mean you have to put everything on hold and save every dime to get to retirement. You don't want to spend every dollar pre-retirement, and I've seen that happen where people get to retirement and there's just nothing left. Like they had a great life and they did a lot of travel, but they did really bad planning. So there's this balance between saving enough for the future and saving enough for now to enjoy the now. And so make sure as you build up for retirement, if you're a bit younger watching this or retirement's in 5 or 10 years, don't put everything on hold for retirement. Make sure you start to enjoy life, to travel, to hit your bucket list items, because tomorrow may change drastically for you. And for some of you watching this video, unfortunately it will. It could be for me. It could be for any of us. And so we have to enjoy life as much as we can leading up to retirement. So yes, the go-go phase I always starts in retirement, but the reality is that go-go phase needs to happen all through life. Enjoy life, spend some money, but make sure you're saving enough for retirement so that you can enjoy retirement and do the things you want to do. So while it's almost impossible to prepare on the emotional side for losing a spouse, a common law partner, someone that you love and have spent many, many years with, the reality is on the financial side, as much as you maybe can't prepare for it, you can run some scenarios with your financial planner. And a lot of you I know don't want to talk about it or think about it, but it's reality for so many of you. And so I encourage you, as you sit down with your financial planner, to run through some what-if scenarios. It'll bring peace and comfort to the overall planning and allow you to walk forward in maybe a better state of mind, knowing that, hey, if I do lose this person, emotionally I'm going to be a mess, but financially I'm going to be okay. And so for a lot of you, you need to go through that task with your planner. So sit down with them, go through that task. And again, I hope you don't face this challenge. But I know, talking to many of you day in and day out, that a lot of you are facing this challenge and you're living through it right now. And it's difficult. And I never know what to say when this happens, but let's walk through the financial challenges that you're facing and make sure we get you back on the right path. So again, make sure you run some of these stress tests. It'll just give you that ease and peace of mind to make sure that the way forward is the best way forward. We'll see you in the next video.